I've seen a video about a. The video is titled Professor shows students how close civil war really is after Charlie Kirk's murder." The name of the channel is called Warren Smith Secret Scholar Society. And it is a video about a debate class that is. It is a really eye-opening debate because you can clearly see that although the professor is trying to get the discussion across, but the students are very persistent, and I'll tell you why. So what really caught my attention on this video is that why is it that most people, they are very literate, you know, they graduate high school, they can read texts, they can solve problems about those texts, they can read numbers, they can perform uh, analysis on numbers, they can solve equations and stuff like that, high school stuff, right? I mean, it is almost something close to numerical literacy, understanding percentages, understanding interest rates, fees, knowing that when you enter college, you get an absurd amount of interest rate that sometimes you're not even able to afford and pay it when you graduate. So those are the standard, like the basic skills that you are able to encompass during your high school. And this is a debate comprised of a professor and college students. So college students are expected to be able to outperform high schoolers, right? This is a basic thing, right? And even though you're you have a literacy on text, you can solve text stuff. How how is it possible that people are so illiterate when it comes to media, artworks, games, you know, talking to people? How come you can solve textbook problems but not get information across and receive information effectively from other people? How is that? It is unfathomable how you can have such a gap in skill that it gets insane the more you watch the video. So I'll give you. So this video will be a, a car analogy. So think about it like this, right? You have a point A and you have a point B, and you want to get from point A to point B across. That is a very simple task. I think anybody can do this. Pets can do this. Animals can do this. You know, sometimes even like fungus can do that, right? Navigate a maze and stuff like that, right? So you have point A and point B. The only thing that you have to do is just point and go to point B. The moment that you introduce an obstacle in the middle, things get tough, and they seem to lose all capability of rational decision making. So what I want to tell you about is three types of people. Not three. I mean, there are the total is three, but mainly two types of people. And those three types, two of them are problems. So the first one that is not a problem is people who can clearly get from point A to point B. So those are not the people I want to talk about because they can get around the wall, right? So there's a wall, you can go around it and reach point B. The issue is the people who cannot do that. They obviously lack the literacy skill, basic skill to reach from this point and this point when there's a wall, right? It's a simple wall, right? Anybody can go around and do it. So, first type of person, they see the wall and they just they never try anything other than this. And the second type of person is they see a wall, right? They're a little bit smarter. They're gonna avoid the wall, but they're never really gonna do anything other than that. So what I'm trying to get at is there's those two types of people, which, if you can understand what I'm trying to get at, is a one-to-one representation of these people who cannot get information across. So this is literally information getting across. So when you're having a dialogue, when you have a debate, there's two things that you need for a debate to be able to stand. That is a point that you're trying to make, and the reason why you agree that this point is something that it is worth pursuing. And for the first type of person who just go to the wall, they have a clear point, they have a clear goal, the goal is B, it's clear. But the reason that they go this way, they don't have a clear reason that they want to go this way, right? They have a goal, they might be onto something, but as long as they keep doing this and they don't try anything other than that, or see the dimensionality, right? Because this point A, point two, point A, point B, right? This is one dimensional. When you introduce a wall, it's two dimensional now. So those people, they don't see the dimensionality of it. They cannot understand that you might be right about this, but the context might be offset a little bit. Like I could say, for example, I might be in favor of 2A, right? But 2A where? 2A when? What time period? Who? What kind of guns are you trying to control? Is it pistols? Is it rifles? Hunting rifles? They are different, right? What country is it? Do you think Sweden needs it? Do you think Japan needs it? Do you think the Brazil needs it? Maybe. Depends on the country, right? What kind of people are trying to regulate the arms? Police officers, they need it because they're police officers, right? So the same point, if you bring it across different spectrums, you see that the reasoning, if you don't have a clear reasoning, the same point is not going to be able to stand. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, when you try to avoid the wall, but you don't have a clear goal, that is the same thing as I have a reason. I say something, right? And then, take for example, I am in favor of this. I am in favor of A, or for example, I am in favor of whatever, A. What the other person is trying to understand is, what is the reason that you're trying to say that? What is the goal that you have when you say that? Right? What is the context that you have with that? Like, you have the reason. I have a reason to say that. But what is your goal? When you say you're in support of A, what is your goal? Have you thought about that? Like, what is the point that you're trying to make? When people say things out of random, they might have a reason. It could be a valid reason. When you don't have a goal to strive for, their reason is laid to waste, because you're not trying to get a task complete. You're not trying to get from A to B. You're just trying to avoid the wall. The wall is not there to be avoided completely. It's there to make you grow, right? From A to B. So you have to learn a new skill to get that, right? So I'll give you examples of where people have literacy skills. It's very simple. So one thing is, when I'm trying to understand what the other person is trying to say, right? They might say something outrageous. They might say something that is, like, out of this world, right? One of the most powerful skills you can have is paraphrasing whatever that person is trying to say. So, for example, I'll give you a clear example. So I wrote all of this so I can have some kind of audience. So in other words, this is an example. So in other words, you say that Charlie Kirk is eligible as a victim to be shot at because he defends gun control. So that is me role playing, like me trying to paraphrase somebody else, right? I'm trying to confirm if this is the point that they're trying to make, which obviously this sounds very ridiculous, right? And anybody who paraphrases like that, they might have some kind of dishonest kind of ulterior motive, but still, for it is a valid interpretation sometimes, because people in this day, they are very bad at verbalizing. They have no verbal skills. They have no literacy in speaking. But that is besides the point. One of the things that I've seen the most is no. This person will rightfully say no. I don't agree with what you said, or I don't agree with the way you interpreted what I said, and rightfully so, right? Because no, how can you stand for something so outrageous? And then they will add comma, but another reason, and they add a reason for that. No, but a reason. So can you see what I'm getting at? Is clearly my interpretation of what you said is wrong, because you said no, and also because it's outrageous, but you said no, so it is not an accurate interpretation of what I just said, of what you're trying to tell me. And then you add a reason on top of that. What are you reasoning for? What is your point? I don't even know your point. No, but he was a menace. No, but I'm supposing, right? No, but he was a menace. Okay, he might have been a menace. He might have been something. What am I supposed to do with that information, right? What is your point? So instead of trying to. Oh, no. What I'm trying to say is this. Instead of doing that, they're trying to reason my point. No, their point, which is not even their point. It's my interpretation of their point. So they're trying to give a reason for my interpretation of their point. You see what I'm doing? Look, my interpretation of their point. So they give a reason here. They give a reason here, which is their point. My interpretation of their point. I don't even know if I have a goal here. I don't even know if I have a reason here. I don't even know if this reason is supposed to be here or here. Like, what is the original goal? What is your point? As long as I don't have a point and a reason, there is no dialogue. There is no dialogue. There's nothing to be discussed about, because I don't know where you're trying to get at. I don't know your reason. I don't know what you stand for. I don't know what kind of person you are. I don't know context. I have no clue to go from there. So how are we supposed to have a civilized debate and be able to have meaningful conversations based on the fact that people cannot seem to get information across? And there's a clear lack of there's a clear gap between the text literacy skills and verbal media art literacy skills. You know what I'm saying? So these people from the video I'm talking about, they're not high schoolers, they're not elementary school graders. Like, I could not be expecting such intricate skill set from them, but from the moment that you join adulthood, that you can vote, you can participate into politics, those affairs, you can manage a household, you can get married even. Whew, that's a lot of stuff you need to do, right? And to aid in all of those tasks, paying taxes, also in to aid those things, we come with a basic skill set, right? It's not like we're born with it, because society, it's not intrinsic to us, but we are very good at doing stuff in the society. So It's not worth in losing a society over this, but nevertheless, how can we live in a society where people do not understand how it feels like or how it is to be an effective communicator? So I'm not even talking about being eloquent for speeches or doing stuff that, elected officials can do, because they have years of experience, decades of experience. They have, their entire education is based around that, right? Or something close to that. So, but having meaningful relationships, having stable jobs, having a good work performance, you know, being able to stand by your goals, being integral to who you are, being able to partake in politics. Those are all skills that hugely benefit from being literate in a general spectrum. In a general spectrum, right? So the consequence of this lack of literacy in the modern day is that you get this convergence of, one, we're in a world where we're hugely globalized, right? So anybody in any part of the world can have a conversation with anybody else in the world, from across classes, across cultural backgrounds, across classes of education, right? So a high schooler could theoretically be able to converse with a PhD. That's something that happens, right? So it's not impossible. But how do you expect that we have such a globalized world and we don't have those basic skills of being able to manage information, being able to know what is fake news, what is bias, you know, being able to spot fallacies on what the other person is trying to say, being able to distinguish the other person's needs, right? Are 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 your needs emotional? Are your needs rational? Are your needs like safety or basic needs like food? Which kind of need do you have? People are not able to distinguish the needs of other people, which is it is remarkable how people become so stupid in this age. And it is very clear now because of recent events that there's a clear gap in being able to communicate with other people, that unless we do something about it, we are going to lose the youth. The youth is going to be dumb eternally. They're going to be raised to be dumb. They will have illiterate children who will not be able to effectively use social media, communicate, have meaningful relationships, which is what we strive for as human people. We are social beings. We need to strive to being effective communicators. And there's only one way to fix that, which is we need to get the bar higher for those skills. We are losing those skills. We are losing the Socrates method. We are losing those skills from 2000 years ago or even more. Right? We have society since 12,000 years ago in ancient China. That is how long society has been striving for. And yet, here we are, 12,000 years later, and we are not able to communicate. We just dismiss people because their points are not what we're fighting for, or because they're rage baiting, or because they're trolls. We dismiss them, and then we sit in a cooking pot of our own beliefs, and we get groomed into thinking those beliefs, and we lose any connection from to anything other than what we already believe. Our cognitive space is so limited nowadays. It makes me regret that we have so much information at our disposal. We have dictionaries. People are unable to look at dictionaries and correctly identify the meaning of words. They are unable to string words together. They just pick up the buzzwords and pair them up with other buzzwords and expect them to have any meaning. We all know that's not how communication works. I could be I could have the biggest vocabulary ever, a record holder vocabulary uh, size. It doesn't mean anything if you're not able to string words together. I hope you do better. I hope we all do better. Thanks.